everyone.
I'm back, baby.
It's Jake Ciely.
I'm great. Everybody else sucks.
Oh,
Oh, no. It's every nightmare I've ever had.
Excuse me?
It's time to check the link.
Pretty crazy, huh? But it doesn't matter because none of this has anything to do with the show.
You know what? You just made the list.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
It's all in football.
Sure, we talk about it all the time. Really? No.
Game on, everybody! It's all in football. Myself, Chris Meaney. It's the first real episode. Last week we had our first launch episode. This is the first real episode. Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays. We're here every single week from now until the end of the football season, doing that every single week. So if you get tired of me, if you get tired of that song, you only have yourself to blame for coming into this wonderful show every single time. It's Meaney Mondays. By the way, Chris, how does it feel to have, like, you're the only one that fits well with the, like, we don't do Steph Tuesday. I guess the T is in there, but Jeff is definitely off. Jeff Wednesdays. I mean, that just doesn't really even work.
Nah, that's lame. Doesn't work at all. Sorry, Jeff. I love the intro. It gets me every time, especially the make the list or you made the list. It obviously brings me back.
Jericho's so far away, I can't reach him.
Yeah, you can't. I learned so much about wrestling back in the day from you.
And you forgot all of it.
And I don't know anything anymore. But no, man, Meaney Monday, I'm all about it. I love this.
Yeah, so during the regular season, it's going to be a little more of a recap of what happened on Sunday, but we got a lot of time before we... Actually, it is the official... It's August, man! Not only is it the launch of draft month, it's draft week because the flex drafts are happening this weekend with Chris is on one of the online ones, so that won't be this weekend, but Chris will be in one, Steph's in one, Jeff's in one, I'm in one. We'll have that to talk about. Just as a reminder, maybe Chris needs a reminder for everything like that, but if you're not part of the Athletic, that's where my rankings are, and the cheat sheet, which you can customize and everything like that. First month is free. If you're watching this show, listening to this show, first month is free. So go to theathletic.com/BetsTV. A really easy code to remember. You get your first month free. So make sure you check that out. And 5 stars, rate, subscribe on all the good stuff. We got to move ourselves up so people can pay attention to us. You're like, where are you, Jake? Where's the All in Sports podcast? Well, now it's All in Football, and it's here. So this is how people find us. Get us all as what I had, like 300 something 5 stars and a couple people that hate me on iTunes. So let's get like those 3.
Just a couple.
Just a couple. Those guys they don't need to come over, or girls don't need to come over. Just all the 300 good ones. That's what we need. But Chris, I hate to do this to you, but right off the top, it's your old boy. Is he your boy anymore? That he's not on the Eagles?
I'll be rooting for him. I got a lot of tees. I got a Funko Pop. I got a ring. I like a replica World Series ring with his like initials and name engraved in the middle. I should have got Nick Foles.
Wait.
Really,
it's not the Super Bowl ring, but then his name is crossed out with Nick Foles over top of it.
Yeah, Nick Foles. No, it's not. Yeah, man, this kind of bums me out, and it should for Eagles fans too. Even if you have a sour taste with Carson Wentz, the fact that
by the way,
a first round pick is in play. Like he has to play an X amount of games, right? Snaps for him to, or for the Eagles for that to be a first round pick. But yeah, we're talking about Carson Wentz.
So selfishly look at it that way. Yeah, but we can like other players. I didn't even mention this. So way up here, I now have a Michael Carter mini helmet signed by Michael Carter. Ooh. And your new boy, right? Oh, it's so much glare. I'm gonna have to figure out how to. It's Jalen Hurts, dude. Jalen Hurts mini autographed small helmet little there for you. So I got your new boy, but let's talk about your old boy, Carson Wentz. Hurt. Now, this is going a lot of ways, Chris. Their initial was that Carson Wentz, torn, whatever, broke, whatever. Like, and then we get the report that, oh, by the way, he's going to continue and try to play. Maybe not have surgery immediately. If he does need surgery, it's still a 6 to 8 week timetable on average estimation there. Potentially longer, depending on when the surgery. I mean, there's just all sorts of news out there that we can't go any which way with it right now. So we have to go somewhere with it, Chris. We have to. Let's back off Carson Wentz for a second here. Let's just talk about the receivers, obviously, because if we go to Jacob Eason, giant question mark what Jacob Eason could do. Maybe there have been rumors circulating of Jimmy Garoppolo in a trade. If the 49ers are really ready to throw Lance out there in week 1 because he's looked so good, quote unquote. I have a little hesitation if the 49ers are ready to go that all in, to use the term with Trey Lance already. But for the pass catchers in your drafts right now, you're drafting today, Chris Meaney, you're on the clock, T.Y. Hilton, Michael Pittman, Paris Campbell, are they late round flyers at best for you now? Like, how far are you affecting everybody? And we still have to talk about Jonathan Taylor here in a second.
Yeah, I know. And they signed Brett Hundley over the weekend too. It's interesting to see if they really do what you said, all in. If the Colts really want to go all in, because they have a competitive team. They almost beat the Bills last year in Buffalo in the playoffs, and I think they should have won that game. It was like a couple bonehead mistakes on their end, but that was a game I feel like they should have won. And are they going to give up another first or a couple more picks for Jimmy G? I think that's an interesting suggestion that you have there. But this is brutal for everybody in the offense. It really is. Even if you don't like Carson Wentz and you don't believe in Carson Wentz as a passer, he is still a better quarterback than Brett Hundley or Jacob Eason. There's no question about that. He's better than both combined, in my opinion. Like, you can put them combined with all their skill sets, and I think Carson Wentz would still come out on top. And we all
Chris,
know that,
I mean, if we we're going, that's the time travel from. I probably just dated myself. People aren't going to remember Wayne's World anymore. So
nice, yeah.
Go back just 2 years, and Carson Wentz was the next best top 10 quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, he was. I mean, the year that they won the Super Bowl, and we laughed about Foles. I mean, I still think he got MVP votes. And I believe he suffered the knee injury week 14 in LA against the Rams. So he was
30.
Yeah, man, he was awesome with Frank Reich calling the play. So obviously everybody knows about that connection with the two. And it kind of went all downhill in Philly when Frank Reich left, in my opinion. And it was Doug Peterson who was calling the plays nonstop. And listen, there's a couple things that I want to say here with the Colts, especially, that they have a history of downplaying injuries as well. Like, you can go back to Peyton Manning with the neck injury. They kind of downplayed that. He ended up missing the season. That was in 2011. Luck, they downplayed that. He ended up missing an entire season in 2017. Maybe this is nothing related at all. But there was also Luck again in 2019 with the ankle. They downplayed that. He retired. And now you're hearing reports that he's just going to rehab. All the reports I'm seeing is that he definitely needs surgery, or he's going to have to play through that foot injury the entire year. I don't see him just sitting down on the couch resting and then him being all of a sudden like near 100% and this foot not affecting him. It's going to affect everybody in the offense. So to your initial point, I'm out on T.Y. I don't want a piece. He can fall to the very end of drafts and maybe I take a flyer. I just don't even care anyway. Like, I wasn't interested in T.Y. anyways. The guy that I really wanted was Michael Pittman. I was really interested in Pittman. Last year was a bit of a down year, but I just felt like him and Wentz could connect together. There could be a chemistry. They were already working out like right away when Wentz was traded. The first person that he was working with was Michael Pittman. I just felt like
Pittman over Hilton already.
Yeah. Okay.
Pittman
was a guy that he was my first Colt ranked high. He wasn't even going that high in drafts. Like, you can get him outside the top 40, 45 at wide receiver position. People just don't seem to like Wentz. So these guys are falling down. But, Paris Campbell, I have a lot of questions now. Like, the offensive line is great. They're just going to run the football a ton and dump offs to Nyheim Hines. Like, all of that is possible.
Pittman was most recently, it was wide receiver 44, sandwiched between Jalen Waddle and Laviska Shenault at 108 overall. So
I do like Shenault. Like, that's the decision now. I'd rather take Shenault.
And I think that's where, I mean, look, let's go. Chris, what are we doing? We're trying to figure out where we want to put a player.
What do we do?
We don't know. We're just throwing out random names. What do we do instead of just throwing out random names?
Well, I don't know. What do we do?
We make a list. Look at that. Very first show. I wasn't even planning that. And I got even the scratchiness like Jericho in there. So there you go. So Michael Pittman right in front of Shenault. I agree with you. I'm taking Shenault, and I've been one of the people who said Chenault's excitement and hype is getting a little too high. But Shenault over Pittman, Antonio Brown over Pittman.
Yeah.
Okay. Devontae Parker. There's an interesting one.
Yeah, that is an interesting one. I'm probably out on Parker. I would probably there's got to be some other players in this list that we can get to, but I would take Pittman over Parker.
There are, because I don't see how you don't take all three of these in front of him. And arguably, even before this happens, Michael Gallup, Marvin Jones, and Mike Williams.
Oh, yeah. Like, no question. It's not even close.
Corey Davis as the number one?
Yeah, I would take Corey Davis too.
How about now it gets a little interesting. Henry Ruggs?
Yeah, it does get interesting there, Henry Ruggs. I want to believe in the talent in Henry Ruggs. You and I have had so many conversations about Ruggs. I may take the upside in Ruggs there, but they need to use him properly.
Oh,
I
of
need
course.
to see it, man. He's got to get
Well,
more
their
than
number
4
one
targets
wide
a game.
receiver as of today, John Brown, down at 62. We wouldn't even get to him. We'd have to make a whole separate list to get down to him. There's just a few.
Darnell
I mean,
Mooney.
there's others.
Mooney's a guy. Yeah,
I
Mooney
was
over
saving
him.
him for later in the show. Tease for that when they get to. The only other one I was going to bring up is Cole Beasley. Obviously his situation being whatever it might be, still at 54. I mean, if he's playing, which I don't, I never understood, like, why wouldn't he play unless the NFL forces him out to play? But yeah, I think Cole Beasley. I accidentally got auto drafted. I was trying to think that there was a lot of A's in there. Auto drafted with Cole Beasley in like the 13th round or 14th round or something like that, and I was perfectly okay with it.
Because he's starting to become a pretty crazy discount for a guy who finished, I believe, wide receiver 27 last year and set career highs across the board. Like, he still has a role in the slot with the Bills. They're still going to be a top, I don't know, 5 worst. I mean, they're going to be top 5 offense. I'll just say it. I think they're going to be a top 5 offense. At worst, they're a top
easily.
10 offense. And over the last month in NFFC leagues, high stakes, he has fallen quite a bit. He's wide receiver 61, ADP 163, and the max pick is 247. So you're talking about these high stakes drafts where people are putting their money on the line, where you're just like, okay, outside 13th, 14th round, one of my last picks for Cole Beasley, who is not super flashy. How many times have you and I talked about Cole Beasley and, doing shows together?
For years. Well, also
It's
that's because
just a
Pat
solid
Mail's
floor.
boy forever. He would bring him up every single time.
Nobody ever wanted him in a half point, in a full point, sure, and a half point still fine.
Do you know where he finished in half point last year?
I think 27, wide receiver 27.
29.
29.
Super close.
Like, wide receiver 3 going in the 60s.
Hold on. Do you want to even kick it
Crazy.
to points per game? Do you want to give him the down tick of people that miss games in front of him? Sure, let's do that. Wide receiver 35. Ooh, drop 6 spots.
Not a crazy high ceiling, but just a solid floor, as the guys just could catch,
that
6
was
or
gonna be
7
my next
balls
point.
for 60
He had
yards.
4 games under 8 points. Just that's
Wow.
it. I mean, one of them was at the worst time ever, week 16 against New England. But I mean, he kind of against New England. But again, I guess and they had an 8, 9,
that
and
didn't
then
even
everything
matter
else is double digits.
At that point,
Yeah.
did it? Like, they were already kind of locked in. He went on a heck of a run. I'm looking at it now, like 100 yards. He had 100 yards in 3 of his final 5 games, if you don't include week 16 against New England, where like again, he was just. I mean, it was already locked up.
Bitter beer face from week 16. And maybe again, this offseason stuff might be. I can understand, like, oh my God, what if I draft him? Well, here's the. What's interesting? Screw that, Chris. Like, I don't want to draft him because he might not play. Then why are you drafting Deshaun effing Watson in the 10th round, in the 8th round? Like, why are we still doing this Deshaun Watson thing when you're like, oh no, Cole Beasley, he might sit out because he doesn't want to get the vaccine? Like, you can't draft one and not draft the other.
I know, and one is, I mean, in Watson, obviously, when he's on the field, we're talking about a top 5 at his position, but one guy is to the extreme a hell of a lot cheaper than the other one, and there's more uncertainty.
There's more uncertainty.
There's more uncertainty with Watson. Yeah. I don't know. What do you think about the Colts wide receivers? I mean, you got to downtick them all, I think.
I actually did. They all fell. And when I updated the projections, they all fell mostly because the yards per attempt, the accuracy, the how many times passing. And I think that's actually where I was going to segue here right now too, is that while I boosted the run a percentage for the team. So initially, like, I went with the Carson Wentz is having surgery. So I have him out for 9 games because their bye comes into the play or does it come into play? I forget when their bye is now. In any case, I did the math of what they were like the week what he was estimated to be. Oh, that's what it was. No, they have a Thursday night football game.
They got a bye week 14.
Yeah, no, but they have a Thursday night football game and his estimated return time, which means they wouldn't bring him back on the short week. You would get the extra day. You get a 10 days after that. So that's why I put the week 9 felt like a good spot. So in any case, or 9 games. So that did downticked everything, but I want to talk about that is because despite increasing the percentage this time that the Colts should run the ball, I downticked the touchdown percentage for all their running backs and gave a slight downtick to the number of carries for Taylor versus it, like a bigger share, because here's the thing. And I know that doesn't sound like it makes a whole lot of sense, but it does when you understand that if you look back at the history, and TJ Hernandez of 4for4 tweeted this out yesterday. So kudos to him if anybody hasn't seen the tweet, is talking about what do you think of the offense without Wentz? That's your first question. Answer that question. Do you think it's going to be a bottom 10 offense? Bottom 5 offense would be one of the worst in the leagues. But even if you think it's bottom 10, and I mean offense in the way that he was talking to, is plays per game and touchdown scoring. There's just points they're going to put up and then plays per game, because those two things matter. And over the history of the past, however many years he did, like 10 to 15 years, I think maybe 2 running backs hit that top 10 RB1 mark by playing on those offenses. One of them last year was James Robinson. But the point that he brings up, and I agree with, is if you think that Jonathan Taylor should still be an RB1, despite being in a bottom 10, potentially bottom 5 offense with Eason or whoever it might be, is he going to get 80% of the touches? Not carries, 80% of the touches. So answer that question. That's where we're going now. Chris, Jonathan Taylor, is he 80%? I think Marlon Mack is a non-factor, is the fact that talent, let alone coming off an Achilles injury. But I also have said this entire time, Nyheim Hines is a factor. Nyheim Hines is going to be involved in the passing game. Does Jonathan Taylor hit the 80% mark for you? So to answer the question in the long term, or I guess the short answer to your long form question is Jonathan Taylor still an RB1 for you?
He's still an RB1 for me, but now I feel like I got to bump other guys that I had behind him. Like, man, I'm thinking now maybe Najee Harris passes him. Maybe it's definitely Saquon. Like, I had recently moved Taylor ahead of Saquon and also have Nick Chubb just behind there as well. So now I'm thinking these guys are going to leapfrog him. No, I don't think he gets 80% of the touches. I'm with you. I mean, Hines is going to be a factor in this offense. He was last year. We talked about it on the opening show last week. He was top, 4 or 5 among running backs in catches. There were times last season where he was getting red zone opportunities as well. I mean, Taylor was just, I believe, RB19 for the first 10 weeks of the season. Mac wasn't on the roster. Like, he got hurt week 1. It takes some time for rookies, and it took some time for Taylor and for him to get the touches that he deserved. But, I mean, he ran over some very mediocre defenses towards the end of the season, which everybody wants to give him a pass, but they don't want to give Dave Montgomery a pass for doing the same thing. So it's crazy. It's so crazy to me. But, yeah, I think he has to drop down a little bit. And the focus, depending on the quarterback situation, the focus probably will be on stopping the run game. And the offensive line is really good. Frank Reich has a history of using all of his running backs, all of them. You go back to Philly, used all 3 when they won the Super Bowl, and Ajayi and Blunt and Corey Clement. They used them all. He used them all. And he probably was going to use a little bit of Mac throughout the year as well. I mean, I know it was just week 1 and a first game in the NFL for Taylor, but if you remember, it was Mac to start, and everyone's like kind of freaking out. What's going on here with Marlon Mack? And then he went down with the Achilles injury. So I think he got to bump him down just a little bit, man.
I think we could get him on the cusp of being an RB1, and here's how. I don't want to do it again, but it looks like twice in the very damn first show of this series. We're making another list here. We're making a list. So it's the top 4: McCaffrey, Cook, Henry, Kamara. We don't need to debate those. Barkley, Zeke. I know you said whichever order, but you said Barkley moves in front of him, so I know Barkley's in front of him. So I know those 6 without you going through your list. I know you have those 6 in front of him. So now let's start going down my rankings. So at 7, I have Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler over Jonathan Taylor.
Oh, man.
You shouldn't be hesitating. Come on, dude.
In a half point, I just get so weird about Eckler, but yeah, Eckler, yes.
He loves fantasy, too. He's a super nice guy. He's super awesome.
Sure, put him RB1, right up ahead of all the boys.
Top 5. Yeah. Austin, he doesn't have Anthony Lynn screwing things up for him anymore.
He's going to get over 100 targets, yeah. I just hate backs that get, like, sometimes 8 or 9 carries, but catches and targets are more valuable than but I think we could say the same about Eckler. Like, how many times is he
that's what I'm saying. No, I was coming back at you. It was like, you hate Alvin Kamara so much. All right, so Austin Eckler. You said Nick Chubb.
Yes.
Are you putting Najee Harris definitively in front of Taylor now? I think it's going to be interesting debate for a lot of people.
I would. Yes.
Okay.
But they're going to be side by side. That's where I think the cutoff will be. And there's one more that I'm going to have ahead of him.
I have 2 more I haven't mentioned yet. This is going to be so Joe. I'm never coming off the effing field Mixon.
No, I'm not putting him ahead of Taylor.
No
Not
Joe
not
Mixon in front. Interesting.
yeah, not
How
Joe.
about Aaron? I'm super based in touchdowns. Jones.
Yes. I mean, whatever. The guy scores touchdowns. He's got a nose for the end zone. We can't fault him for that. He had 30 touchdowns, like 96 grabs in the last 2 years. So, and there's no Jamal Williams there. So, yeah, I'm putting him ahead of him.
So wait, let me come back to. Well, no, I'll put a pin in that. I'll come back to it in a second. So that puts him at 11. Let's see who his. I haven't mentioned that makes these lists. How about Antonio? I'm the breakout pick of everybody in fantasy football. Gibson.
He's not for me. He's almost a bust for me. The fact that he's
Okay.
moving up. I got him like RB 14, 15. So, no.
Okay. How about JK? I don't know how many touches a game I should get. Dobbins.
No. No, like I'm not putting these guys that are going to get 10 or 12. Like I still think Taylor's as much as I said 80%, maybe he doesn't get there. I still think he's a guy that gets at least 15 to 17 carries a game. So
Okay.
I can't say that about Dobbins.
Chris, my leg can't ever stay healthy. Carson.
No.
No.
No. I think everyone else he mentions no. Unless
Okay.
they're yes for you.
No.
Explain yourself.
No. DeAndre, I'm super talented, but my quarterback and offense sucks. Swift.
Well, this is what you were talking about, TJ, and the stats and playing on brutal teams. Like, can't this apply to DeAndre Swift? Like, how many touchdowns is this guy going to score this year?
Well, absolutely. That's why I have Swift lower, but it's also because of Jamal Williams. You know that. I think people are underestimating how much Jamal Williams might be involved, especially because of pass catching running back. So for you, Jonathan Taylor falls down to 11. For me, because I would take Joe Mixon. Health obviously is, we're assuming a lot as of today. I haven't seen a whole lot of Joe Mixon yet. That could change, but and that off, I love the Joe Burrow offense and everything. And Joe Mixon, for all intents and purposes, and I'm a Chris Evans guy, as in like, don't forget that he's probably going to be the next man up if Mixon gets hurt, where P. Ryan kind of keeps his share, so to speak. All that being said, this is kind of someone to Mike Davis. Like the talent disparity behind him is just so great that I would still take Mixon. But I can see it. So 11-12. He's barely an RB1. We've pushed him down to barely being an RB1.
Makes me sick.
You're like so upset about it.
Yeah, you start my Monday off so sour, but I get it. I knew we were going to talk about this. I love Taylor as a talent. That's the thing. Like it makes me sick.
It's my show. Do I not ever make people feel sour? I mean, that's just like on brand.
And the Colts have to do something, right? They can't roll.
But I was running through it. Like,
Hundley.
What do they do?
Maybe they have to get Jimmy G.
Trade for Garoppolo? Like,
maybe they do. Whatever, they're all in.
But what? What do you like? Do you really want Garoppolo that bad that you're willing to give up? What? And again, the Colts have already given up a few picks throughout other trades. So I mean, Carson Wentz.
Are they a playoff team without Wentz for the first 9 weeks of the season? Like they play Seattle and LA week 1, week 2. Those are losses.
Where's Jacoby Brissett now?
I don't know.
Playing well.
I think he's just hanging out.
Is he just hanging out? I'm about to do I'm about to Google the Google machine to find out the Jacoby Brissett. He's got to be hanging out. Oh, he's on Miami.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I mean, maybe they bring him back. He knows the system. Like that would make sense. I feel a little bit better about. Would you feel? I would feel better about the offense with Jacoby Brissett
than Garoppolo or just anybody.
Than just what they have in Eason. And
okay. Well, I mean,
Hundley.
I feel better than a lot of people, and like I'm trying to think. Eason, oh god, Eason, baby. I don't think Eason's like everybody's just. We haven't even seen him play in the NFL. Like, can we stop murdering Jacob Eason before he even touches the football? I can see Jacob
and if
Eason,
they don't do anything, maybe then they believe in him potentially. But
for
Jimmy G, he just has to do the same thing that he's been doing in San Fran. Just hand the ball over, hand the ball, hand it off. Oh, here's Pittman, 5 yards. Pittman, maybe one deep shot. Like just hand it off. I saw Kyle Shanahan say last week that he says that Jimmy G's a starter because he's a winner, and like all he's done with San Fran is win football games. It's like he couldn't even really say that with a straight face. He couldn't even look at the camera. It's like, dude, you are straight up lying about all of that. The upside is capped with Jimmy G, but he would be he's better than what they have.
Yeah, the Colts also drafted Sam Mellinger. I call him Mellinger. He could just run an offense until not that's what you want, but I mean, look, honestly, you can make the argument that Ellinger has a higher floor than Eason, but nothing of a ceiling, and just kind of can he manage the offense for a couple. I think it really comes down to is what they're trying to do right now is the Colts are saying, like, okay, can he rehab? Do we not have to go the surgery route? And if that's the case, can we make it 4 games? Then let's not go crazy. But if it's 9, I'm with you. Like, some 9, you can't go Easton, Ellinger, and like you got to figure. Yeah. And so's my ticket that I put. I put in a bet for them. I put a bet in them to win the AFC back before the Wentz signing because I was expecting Wentz to go there. Like, hey, well, victory lap that, but that doesn't look good now. My victory lap got stopped short. I was halfway around the track. I was enjoying this, Chris, and then somebody just decided to throw a hurdle out there in the middle of my track.
That's why you could never feel too good. There's something that always happens in the NFL. You can't be victory lapping until it's all over. But yeah, it's just
at the crowd.
This is too bad, man. Like, again, I feel for Wentz. There always seems to be something with Carson Wentz, and it was right away. I remember when they drafted him and he stepped in, and it was a preseason game where he hurt his ribs running around. There's been something for Carson now every single year, and it's too bad. I don't know, man, if the guy's drinking his milk or not, but he's. I'm looking at the schedule here. Like, I'm seeing Seattle, LA, Tennessee, Miami, Baltimore. Like, they could start 0-5. They can start 0-5. They get the W against Houston. Then they got to go to San Fran. They play Tennessee again. They get a couple softies with the Jets and with the Jags. And then they got to go into Buffalo, play Tampa. This is all before reports where Wentz could come back. Yeah, they do.
On paper. I mean, this is one of those ones this always could change. All right.
Tennessee's division to win? As of now?
Well, so I actually hope so because that day that the Julio Jones stuff, like I jumped in before everybody adjusted their lines once the Julio trade went down. So I do have on another site, I do have the Tennessee Titans to win the division or to win the AFC as well. So I have the Colts and Titans on 2 different sites there. I wasn't intentionally hedging my bets, but when you get the value, you get the value. So you go kind of put it in there.
See
where the Titans are now. I guess they're down to like 240, 210.
30-1 to win the Super Bowl. Some sites FanDuel 25.
Win the AFC.
To win the AFC South, they're plus 115.
No, the AFC. Like the whole.
To win the AFC is 15-1. 15-1 William Hill, 14 DK, and then 12-1 Bet MGM. Free prop shop. Okay. Get the best possible odds. But yeah, I mean, I don't think that they're going to win the AFC.
Plug a stuff on my show.
You know how I always do that.
Anyway, all right. So speaking of how you do, I'm kind of interested in this one because for anybody that hasn't listened to this show and hasn't listened to Chris Meaney over the years, Chris Meaney has like a love-hate relationship with this guy. He's been like, this guy's fun. Oh, this guy's gonna bust. Oh, this guy's fun. He's gonna bust. Like, what is it, Chris? Which way are you going this year? Kidding aside, Chris wrote an article and contributed to the article at The Athletic at the time and said that Juju Smith-Schuster was a bust at where he was going. As we continue to talk about every single year, is busts and sleepers are relative. There's so much information out there. It's really over and undervalued, but those aren't the fun terms to say. Like, they just get excited. Like, we're talking undervalued today. No, we're going to talk busts. It's more fun to say. So in case you said that, you said, can Juju be the number 1? So we're talking 2 years ago when you were talking about this, and then things happened, and obviously other circumstances came into play on Juju, and it wasn't just his play. So we haven't had a real answer here on Juju Smith-Schuster. We're going to the season, Chris. Ben Roethlisberger is supposedly healthier than he was. Ben Roethlisberger also has a healthy Deontay Johnson, a second-year Chase Claypool, and Juju, which a lot of people are talking about, beneficiary of this offense now having more play action, all this type of stuff. Where are you on Juju? Because he's going as a top 30 wide receiver right now. Is that around 28, 29, 30, right around there? Is that a value or is that still an overpay?
No, I think it's a value. Yeah, part of the reason that you brought it up, it was not so much about the talent, although I did have questions when Antonio Brown left. I think a lot of us had questions if he can handle top coverage, where they would use him on the outside, or if he was going to be a slot guy. I just didn't like him as a top 8-7 wide receiver at that point. And now it seems like everybody just hates this guy, and he's going as the 3rd Pittsburgh wide receiver, even though he finished ahead of both last year in a half-point setting and a full-point setting. And I look at Big Ben, and you could say that he's healthy and he's feeling good all he wants, but I've watched Big Ben over the past couple of years, and this guy has an issue putting the ball down the field. And yeah, it was Deontay who led the way with 144 targets, but it was Juju who led the way in catches with 97 and with touchdowns with 9. Now he's tied with Claypool, a couple end arounds, but Juju led the team in catches He led the team in fantasy points among wide receivers. He led the team in red zone passing attempts. And if you look, or red zone targets, if you look at Ben, he was just chucking, man. Like, that's all he could do was hit Juju at certain points. And I know the fantasy community was sour on Juju. They wanted to use him properly, and it just seemed like Juju was getting like 7 for 40, those silly games that don't really mean a whole lot. But that kind of translated inside the red zone too, inside the 20s, when it was just Juju, a 5-yard slant or a crossing route, and it was just, a little dump off to him. So now the fact that Deontay's going as a borderline top 20 wide receiver, and Claypool over the past couple weeks in NFFC leagues is jumping ahead of him as well. Well, not Deontay, but jumping ahead of Juju. Now I want the guy who's cheaper. Like, it just makes sense to me. Why wouldn't
I love say it right. Now that you're on the show, Chris, it's Deontay, because he's my Bay. So you got to get now that you're going forward, it's Deontay Johnson.
Sure.
So
I'll remember.
I love. Here's the thing. I threw that out on the show. We were doing it. It was during the Fact or Fiction. We give all the Fs because Deontay was top 10 in his healthy games and where he didn't get benched. But even if you wanted to include the benching game, because that was a factor of his own play at the time, he was in his own head. Even if you include that, guess what? He just drops to wide receiver 12. Ooh. So I love Deontay Johnson, but I'm with you. If you're going to give me Juju at this discount, I'm going to take him, and I'm mostly going to take him again to the other name that you brought up. I still like him more than I like Claypool. That's my biggest thing here I'm a Claypool guy. People think that a lot of times I like people from Notre Dame too much. Although this, Chris, I'm the first person to poo-poo anybody coming out of Notre Dame. So Claypool I see there, but I feel like if you're talking about the opportunities, everything you just said, that Juju is still his guy. The only thing I do concern myself with is that recent report, and it's off-season reports, and we're going to kind of talk about that a little bit in the shows, that he's not getting the opportunity to play outside. They're not letting him play outside, quote unquote. So and I don't bring that up to be like, Juju needs to play outside. But if that shows up in 2 wide out sets and he's not on the field, then
that's a problem.
Yeah. That's a problem. So that's going to be one of the ones where I say a lot of times we don't care about off-season news, don't care about. That's worth monitoring. Everybody out there, that's worth monitoring. If there's 2 wide out sets and Juju's not getting snaps, then maybe 30 might even be too high.
Yeah, you wonder why he went back there. I wonder why he went back there.
I wonder why. I think a lot of it was because I think I don't want to put thoughts in his head, but I'm just saying I think he got greedy. Because I think he saw what a lot of people did. It's why the Giants, if you look at it, yes, I made jokes that Gettleman was quote unquote trying to save his job anything chance he could. But Gettleman, as much as I love to hate on the guy, was smart in his free agency attack because he went after multi-year players, knowing that this year the cap is going back to quote unquote normal, potentially even more. And all these wide receivers and all these players and running backs and defense, all of them said, we'll take a 1-year deal. Instead of getting 10 a year, I'm going to get 14 a year next year when everything goes back to normal. I think that's why Juju did it. It's like, well, you know what? Galladay's the only one that really got a giant contract. Corey Davis's was okay, but I know I could get at least Galladay's contract next year if I just wait. And I think that's why.
This is a big year for him. Like he would need to have Big Ben healthy. We've already seen what that offense looks like without Big Ben. Now, mind you, like your boy Bay and Claypool weren't a part of it, but he needs to be healthy. He's betting on himself to have a productive season and then to get paid, just to turn away from the Chiefs. I mean, whatever, you've built something here. You're young. The team took you on. Maybe there's that whole connection there with Big Ben and Tomlin that you want to stay and one more kind of kick at it with Big Ben as your quarterback. Cause I can't imagine he's back again. There's also Najee Harris is somebody to keep in mind too, is a guy that I expect to get 50 catches. So maybe those dump offs don't always go to Juju. Maybe some of them go to Harris, but again, it's a guy that I just think is going. Everyone just seems to be sour on him. They loved him. He was the best thing a couple of years ago. He was the best wide in football.
People were
now
losing their minds over. Well, because he had
and
the
I like
bike story
Claypool as
too,
a
and all
talent
that stuff.
too. Yeah, he's fine. Let's be honest. But yeah, Claypool is, and I like him as a talent too, Jake. And I think you said it perfectly. It's just inside this offense, he's a deep threat guy, and Ben's just lost so much zip, even though he led the league in passing attempts last year, and the attempts are going to be there across the 3 and the 4, and Ebron maybe takes.
Well, so that was my counter argument to as much as to talk about this team, and if you aren't thinking everything's going to be positive, okay, let's just take last year's Ben. Let's say that's all he is. He doesn't get better.
You have
it's still
3 top 30 wideouts.
Yeah.
3 of them.
Yeah.
All of
So
them.
like they feel like that's a really nice floor. Again, worth watching snaps on the field for how high Juju can possibly get. Oh, by the way, I didn't even know because I was looking at did you see my new dark saber? My new dark saber light over here, by the way, from the Mandalorian. Did you
Oh,
see it?
yes.
Yeah,
Yes. I like
So-
the 2 guys ahead from Toy Story, right? Those
From
little
Toy Story.
green guys. Aren't those
Where?
green guys like those above
Those?
them? Yeah. Isn't that
Oh
from
my
Toy
god, I
Story?
hate you. No, no, that's Mooncake from Final Space, dude. Oh my gosh. Everybody go
Just
watch
a-
Final Space. Olin Rogers, one of the best ever out there.
Okay. All right.
Shout out.
That's right. I remember you telling me about that show, but I haven't watched it.
Yeah. Go watch the damn show. Go
All right,
watch
I
Final
will.
Space. If there's
I
a
will.
season 4, he told me I could be a guest voice. How about that?
Oh, wow.
I will fly my own ass out to wherever he is in Hollywood, Los Angeles. That's a dream. I can't do DuckTales because that's been canceled by stupid Disney Plus. But I can make it happen on Final Space if there's a season 4, hopefully. So everybody go support Final Space. You can hear Jake do a voice on a
I'm
freaking
on it.
animated show on television. By the way,
I'm on
I
it.
want to get to the chat real quick because I hate myself for this, Chris. I hate myself. I want to say a special thank you to Disco. I won't say your second part of your name. Because Chris, Gardner Minshew, Beowulf,
What about him?
Put him in Indy. Go
Yeah,
get
I
Minshew.
know.
Put him there.
I saw I saw Warren Sharp tweet that Minshew would win more games in Indy than a healthy Carson Wentz. You know, obviously everybody liked it because everyone likes Gardner Minshew, and it's just another guy that the fantasy and football community absolutely just adores. And I get it. He's got a great stash. You want to root for him. It was an awesome story a couple years ago, but I don't believe that for a second.
No,
that
I
he
don't
would
either.
win
But I
more
think
games.
that
But
Minshew would
now,
be better than anything they have. Yeah.
yeah, now I guess we'll see, right? I suppose that they'll kind of reevaluate in a couple weeks and see if Wentz is getting healthier with that foot, and then they're like, okay, listen, he's not going to, and maybe we need to go down the road and get a guy like Gardner Minshew, who I don't think would cost a whole lot.
Back. I could go get my Beowulf jersey instead. Although it's a Jaguars
We would feel
jersey.
better about the offense.
I think you would have to. Shout out to G-Man J, our friend that's been around since like we were doing shows day one.
Yeah.
Has been around forever.
Stud.
And then
Stud.
I do want to throw this out there to stay with this. So Kevin asks if it's a super flex. Are you grabbing Eason right now? Are you stashing him?
No, I just don't. I mean, what's it? I guess outside the top 30, like that would be a last pick for you, but I don't know, man. I don't think so. Like, when are you ever going to want to start this guy?
I mean, it's super flex. You just never. I would say 2 quarterback now, only because
He'd have to be my 4th, maybe my 5th.
No, at a 2 quarterback, I think he'd be a 4th for most people. I would grab him in a 2 quarterback because 2 quarterbacks. I mean, people are searching. I would actually be surprised if Easton wasn't already taken in a 2 quarterback league because every single backup is already out there. Like, oh, Trubisky, no, the Bills. I think the Bills only have Trubisky behind Josh Allen now. He's not.
Yeah, Mariota's another one too who could potentially be on the move.
I saw his name floated out, but again, Las Vegas doesn't have anybody behind him, correct?
No, I mean he's their guy behind.
Oh no, they have Nate Peterman. Oh my God, no, they're not trading.
So you were right. They don't have anyone behind.
They don't have anybody. If they could get, they tried. Actually, they did try it. They talked about trying to trade Mariota in the offseason. So maybe they would, but. Peterman behind Derek Carr.
Like I live in the range. Like for my 3rd QB is like even a Ben kind of falls down the board. Like we're talking about the weapons.
Well, sure.
Ben for your
but he
3rd
said stash.
or like a
So I mean, we're talking about
so
right now.
I was
Draft's already
saying
done.
after those guys, like a Taysom or a Zach
Tyler
Wilson,
Haneke.
yeah, you're 4th.
ODU represent. Let me talk about. Let's go back to your team, the Eagles, and Jalen Hurts. Where Jalen Hurts? I can't even point at it. Jalen Reagor, the other Jalen. So I bring this up because Chris, there's 2 things we talk about in the offseason that do matter all the time, like running with the ones. I tweeted this out there. I even made a joke of like, I don't know who needs to hear this, but running with the ones means almost nothing. That's how you get evaluated. We talked about it on the very first show. You get evaluated running with the ones. If you're only running with the 2s, that's a problem. And then I got a lot of tweets. There's people are saying, so basically Denzel Mims is dead because he was running with the 3s. So these kind of things matter. But the other thing that matters is everybody's always in the best shape of their life, unless they're failing tests and conditioning. And granted, it's very early. There was one where Kelvin Benjamin got angry at Joe Judge. There's the whole thing with the Giants that Benjamin showed up in shape for what he considered in shape, but they wanted him more in shape and fewer pounds. And he's like, but I'm a tight end now. But all that being said, but Jalen Reagor failed the conditioning test. Again, it's super early. He's not the only player to ever fail the conditioning test. But it's Jalen Reagor coming off a hit or miss rookie season. I think he was miscast, similar to Henry Ruggs. Actually, there's no debating that. He just was. He wasn't supposed to be the number one wide receiver. Wasn't supposed to play outside all the time. Actually supposed to be more in a Juju Smith-Schuster type role, as is Henry Ruggs, but also battled a little bit of injury himself. So hearing this conditioning getting tossed out there as early as it is, and the concerns of what's going on with how successful will Hurts be as a passer, did that affect your opinion at all, Chris? And if so, did it kind of pour a little bit of cold water on the Reagor last year's trash post hype sleeper? Like, was there anything? Did you just kind of like roll your eyes?
I kind of rolled my eyes, but I was a little disappointed. Like, Reagor's dad is in the NFL. He should know what it takes. Like, he should be like, and everything that happened in the draft when they drafted him was just like, it seemed like he just had a massive chip on his shoulder. Like, oh, I'm going to prove everybody wrong. Like, oh, the Eagles should have drafted Justin Jefferson. No, they should have drafted me. Like, I'm going to prove to everybody that this was the right pick. And then your first full season here, because last year was kind of a write-off for a lot of rookies, and things were just different with the world that we were living in, and there's no preseason games and stuff, and he did suffer an injury. For him to, in the offseason, to come into camp and fail was like, oh, what? Like, seriously, dude? Come on, man. It was just that, but now it's over with. Like, even today, he is practicing in full for the first time. He's catching passes from Jalen Hurts, and I don't know if you saw this news this morning, but Devontae Smith is week to week with the sprained knee, and he's not going to be in camp for Philadelphia the rest of the way. So that's a big blow to the Eagles.
His knee is, by the way.
Yeah. My goodness.
For people watching on video.
Chris
and I were texting over the weekend.
Swollen knee is probably still smaller than the average knee for a human being. But it's bad news for the Eagles. But it's also an opportunity here for Jalen Reagor to step up now and to get some reps and to get into shape. So we're just August 2nd. The calendar has just turned here. There's lots of time for Reagor to get into shape and get going here. But yeah, that was it. It was just, for me, I just felt like, and all those reports and him talking about his dad in the NFL, and he knows what it takes to be an everyday NFL player and to work hard and the work ethic. So that was the only thing that was disappointing. But again, we're into August here. Got some time to get going. I'm seeing video right now. Jalen Hurts throws a nice deep down the sidelines to Reagor, and then the sour note at the end. Smith won't be here for the rest of training camp. He's week to week with his
I'm gonna try and get the Hurts helmet from behind me. I feel like
get that out in front.
No, it's precariously placed. I can't. That's the thing.
It's kind of hidden.
I know. The glare too. Hey, what if I turn off the? Can you hear me while I'm turning off the dark saber? Let's see. No, doesn't help.
No, not really.
No, doesn't do anything. For everybody watching it, for everybody not watching on video, you have no idea what we're talking about. I'm just playing with my dark saber. That's not a euphemism.
Jake's is having fun.
Real quick on the Reagor thing. So let me ask you this: Devontae Smith, again, he'll be fine by next week probably. You can see, but Devontae Smith, that's going on with his knee. Jalen Reagor, now he's catching, but still, those two. Is Travis Fulgham making your drafts in anywhere? Oh, do you represent?
I mean, he might now. Like, why not? I know a lot of people have questions about Smith. You and I kind of just tongue-in-cheek joked about how tiny he is. I think he can survive in the NFL, but there's some questions, and there's questions about Reagor. We're bringing them up. He was hurt last year, so who's the guy? Like, if both of those guys are out, we're in the same situation in Philadelphia that we were in last year.
I am on the board in a best ball. Everybody's valuable, by the way. Everybody in the history forever is valuable. I'm drafting Auden Tate in best ball. So 3 wide receivers I actually have in my queue for my final pick coming up. It's Fulgham, Peoples-Jones, and Greg Ward. You can see where the thinking is with 2 of those. So if you're drafting,
I kind of like Greg Ward if there's no if there was no Reagor, but yeah, at that point, Fulgham. Yeah, he proved last year that, and it went away quickly when corners were on him. But there
Right.
was a game against Bradbury where I thought he held his own against Bradbury, and a big body wide receiver, a red zone threat. And if these guys are gone, like who is Hurts throwing the football to? Like I said, it's kind of the same situation as last
Goddard.
year where Fulgham was just there. Yeah, I love Goddard. I love Goddard for a lot of these reasons that we're talking about.
Look, they keep hanging on to Zach Ertz.
It doesn't matter.
No. This is where I say, like, what if they turn into the Colts and or the Vikings and their 12 is their primary set? Like, I know we hear all the talk about what's going to happen to the backfield and who's going to be the number one wide receiver. And there hasn't been anything said to my theory here, but I'm just saying there's a possibility that they haven't moved Zach Ertz because of the question marks at wide receiver. And maybe this is a 12 heavy set that you see for this team. We're not even going to get to all the guys you love today. We're going to have to pivot that over into next week as well. I was going to say, you know what, Chris? Because I poo-poo and everybody hates me and I hate everything and I'm such a grumpy person, but I was going to start the show the very first week with guys we love. Because they're like, hey, bring in the love. Let's have happiness and everything. But we're barely even going to get to that, which is kind of on brand.
Well, one of my guys is now week to week with a knee injury. So,
well, we're not going to get to him today, fortunately, because we only have a few minutes left. So there you go. Let's start at quarterback. We'll start at quarterback, and we'll talk about somebody who has 1 year of college production, and a lot of it came on the ground. And he gets drafted to be the next Josh Allen. Oh, God, he's going to be so effing amazing. He's going to be a top 5 quarterback. He's also a rookie. He's also not guaranteed to be the week 1 starter, although everything's glowing about him so far. And he gets the stamp of Chris Meaney's approval because he is your guy at quarterback. Who is your guy at quarterback if people couldn't figure it out, Chris?
It is Trey Lance from North Dakota State. I don't care about the level of competition last year. When you watch this guy last year, he was, what did he have? 1,100 rushing yards?
On the nose, 1,114 touchdowns.
14 touchdowns, 2,700 yards, 28 touchdowns, 0 picks. Now, that was 2019.
Yes.
I don't care the level of competition. When you go a season, when you don't throw 0 picks, even if you're running around a ton like he did, that's still pretty impressive. Yeah, I'm not surprised to hear that he's balling out here and training camp, and I just think he's going to continue to get better. The thing is like, you're not drafting him as a top 5 quarterback. You're not drafting him as a top 10. In high-stakes leagues from mid-May to mid-June, he was quarterback 26, ADP 165. From mid-June to mid-July, he moved up to quarterback 19, ADP 145, and here over the past couple weeks, he's quarterback 18. So if I don't get one of those top guys...
You should have made me guess on my own show. I was going to guess higher than that from what I've seen. I was going to guess like quarterback 15, 16 at this point.
We may talk next Monday, and that could be the case, right? It only takes a handful of days, and then Jimmy G throwing picks like he did a couple years ago in camp. Remember, there was one game he threw 5 picks, where everyone was just freaking out.
He's
I don't know
up
if that
to
was
18 on CBS.
Yeah,
that's right, and it's
just
Cousins.
Perfect because I know if he's the starter for you week 3, say he's starting week 3, heck, whatever. Say he's starting week 2 against the Eagles. Where's he going to rank for you as a quarterback?
If he's starting week 2.
If he's a starter, just to say he's a starter, no matter the team that he's playing
Chris,
against.
Are we doing
if
this
he's
3
the
times
starting
in one
quarterback. No.
Are we doing?
No. Just forget everybody else. Just kind of like ballpark it where you think he would rank for quarterbacks for that week.
No fun, Chris. Doesn't let me make
well,
another
we can do it. Sure. Let's do it. Let's do another list.
No, I'm going to look right now. I'm going to look down my rankings. So I have Tua at 16. I would still take Tua.
For like a week-to-week basis? Like forget drafting for the season. If Trey Lance is the starting quarterback week 3, where does he rank?
Behind Tua. I would still take Tua. You know how I feel about this. It's like everybody, the next Josh Allen. F that. You're not going to curse at the show. I don't really curse in general, but you're making me want to curse. Josh Allen was 1 of 50. He's the anomaly, not the norm. He's by far not again. How many times have this is going to be the next amazing quarterback? Let's go back to Jake freaking Locker, everybody. Remember Jake Locker and how great Jake Locker was going to be? How about Blaine Gabbert in that same stupid draft? Remember Blaine Gabbert brings a lot on the rushing side of things, not to this level, but I'm just throwing out names like, can we chill out? Like everybody's the next. He's also super, super questionable with his throws. I say all that to say this, Chris, is yes, the rushing upside, Lamar Jackson. Huge question marks. Jalen Hurts, who I'm making cases for. Huge question marks. I don't think he's that far behind Hurts because of the rushing upside, because of that. and in this system. But I would still take Tua. I would still take Matt Ryan. I would still take Matthew Stafford. I would still take Tannehill, Brady, Burrow, and Hurt. And that's why I'm going up the list. And that's where he falls. He falls like QB 15, 16. That's the breaking point for me. That's where you're a high-end QB2. I could see him finishing as a low-end QB1. But you sit here and say, what if the rushing is just capped a little bit because of how much that backfield is used? I'm just throwing out like devil's advocate here. You know, what if the passing is as bad as Jalen Hurts was as a rookie, who people also forget Jalen Hurts threw for 300 yards twice, or maybe it was 3 times.
I don't forget that at all.
Yeah.
And I don't forget people ranking him as a top 7-6 quarterback on a week-to-week basis because of what he can do on the ground.
I don't think Lance is that far behind him. I don't. I just think where Jalen Hurts is going to pass a little bit more, Trey Lance doesn't need to as much because of the offense he's in. I don't disagree with you. I just think there's more questions about Lance being ready for the NFL in general. Like Josh Allen, go back to Josh Allen's rookie season.
Yeah.
Where do you want Josh Allen's rookie season? You don't want him as a QB1. And I think that's a good barometer of what to expect.
But let's also keep in mind, and you and I are huge Josh Allen supporters. We were ahead of everybody with Josh Allen. Like we had him ranked as a top 10 quarterback 2 years ago. And for Josh Allen in his first year, who did he have to throw the football to? Absolutely nobody. They had nobody. His completion percentage was awful. There was a lot of negative things about Josh Allen. Then they bring in Cole Beasley. Then they bring in Stephon Diggs. They brought in great runners who could help him out, and it improved. And play calling improved. Trey Lance here with Shanahan behind a decent offensive line, behind 3 yak monsters in Kittle and Ayuk and Debo. He's surrounded around weapons, and he doesn't need to be drafted as a top 5 quarterback. Like I want a top 6 quarterback like everybody else. I want one of those guys. Like I love Kyler. I'm going to have some shares of Kyler this year. Probably have some shares of Lamar if he falls outside that 4 or 5.
I'm going to flip a question back your way, Chris. I'm going to turn this around. Let's say he's starting week 1.
Against
Jimmy
Detroit.
Garoppolo gets traded. Let's do this. It's Trey Lance starting week 1. For the season, do you want Trevor Lawrence or Trey Lance?
I want Trey Lance. Yeah, I know. It's really close, but I'll have him right around 12. I think from a week-to-week basis, if he's the starting quarterback, he's a
this
top
be our
12
first dollar bet or loogie bet? Or
Yes,
not loogie.
yeah.
Looney? Is it Looney?
Yeah, Looney.
I always say loogie.
Come on. A Looney.
It's
Your
a
first
$2
Looney bet.
Well, no, it's $1 for the conversion.
The conversion. It's like $17
your money's
Canadian.
off. It's like really bad. So, wait. So we're just doing this straight up points per game.
Yeah.
That's all we are doing. Lawrence versus
Trey Lance.
Give
me
Lawrence
Lance
versus Lance. We got
Lance.
right at L versus L. Somebody's getting an L no matter what. How about that?
Yeah. And maybe Trey Lance only starts a game here. Maybe he'll only get it week 17.
I said points
Jimmy
per game.
G's a
I didn't even
big
give you a
winner.
minimum game.
That's
I just
right.
gave you one.
So maybe it's just a week 17 or week 18 big show.
Casey brings up an interesting point. He's saying like if it's could you see him like Taysom Hill like if so I will say
but better.
No, I was gonna say points per game on starts. I won't put that on you.
Sure.
Like if he gets some like Taysom Hill use, I wanted to clarify that as well. So yeah.
And if you're San Fran, get him in there right away. The schedule works out perfectly for this guy to start right away. Week 1 in Detroit, week 2 in Philadelphia, 2 road games where you're going to win regardless on just probably defense alone. Before the schedule turns, like then they get Seattle and Green Bay, and you're not going to chuck him in there. And if Jimmy G wins those games, then at that point, maybe it's just Jimmy G the rest of the way. And then you're like, oh man, like Jimmy G's a winner. All he does is win games. Now I can't put in Lance. We moved all the way up to draft him the 3rd pick. I'm saying Lance is starting week 1.
He's
and
got
I'm thinking
money
this
on his
guy
mind
is
and a
top
pretty
12
butt
quarterback. What are you singing?
Yeah, all I do is win, win, win. You don't know that song?
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that one.
I was just changing it up because Jimmy Graham's a pretty guy, and I changed it to he's got a pretty butt. That's all I changed it to. Before we get out of here on that, last question. We'll throw in a question from the chat here for Matthew Dupont. Look, they might even be north of the border. Dupont. Pat, I can't do a French accent.
No,
as you can
can't.
tell.
That was brutal.
Thoughts on Hurts being in the same archetype as Jackson and Allen? Would you have him in Dynasty or more in like? Do you like Hurts more in Dynasty or redraft? Because I think a lot of people. I'll answer the question for Matthew Dupont. You hate me so much right now. Is I think a lot of people would say redraft because they don't even know if he's the quarterback next year. But
exactly.
Is that potentially a buying value in Dynasty because of that?
I did a startup dynasty and I drafted him as like quarterback 12, and I felt like if I didn't at that point, it was a super flex. So if I didn't at that point, I probably wasn't going to get him. I still, you and I are pretty much on the same page here. You live in the moment in a dynasty league. He's the starter right now. He's got the rushing floor. Who knows what the Eagles are going to do? I don't fully believe that they're going to trade for a guy like Watson. I'd like him more in redraft leagues, but quarterback 12, I think in dynasty league, I think is perfectly fine. Who knows? Like he could impress this year and then you just move forward with him for a couple of years. But also, I think this team is going to be pretty bad, and we're probably looking at a top 5 to 7 pick next year. Probably draft a quarterback if they have 3 firsts.
Yeah, he's looking over his shoulder. Yeah, there's no question about it. Like
yeah.
He needs to show off this year. Oh, you have
Absolutely.
a mini Eagles helmet too. I
do.
noticed that right over the FTN over there.
Do.
Yeah,
and I got Wentz right beside it with.
Maybe I'll
his
place
footage
mine
wrapped
differently
up.
for when you're on the show. We'll see.
Yeah,
It's not like I don't have
center.
too much crap going on behind me already. The TV now is blocking part of it. Dude. Like you can't even see some of the stuff I got going on over here. But back tomorrow again. This new schedule, everybody. Meaney is Mondays, Steph is Tuesdays, and Jeff is Wednesdays every single week going forward. We're going to come back. We didn't even get to 3 of guys Chris loves at running back, wide receiver, tight end. We didn't even get to your opinion on what do you think about all season news. So we'll have all that, a lot more next week. Follow Chris Meaney at Chris Meaney. A reminder, first month free if you go to theathletic.com/BetsTV. I just made Barkley growl. So make sure you check that out. Please, again, share this. Like it, subscribe, 5 stars, all the stuff. We need to grow this super fast before the football season. We got 4.5, 5 weeks before the football season. We need to grow this. So we'll see you back tomorrow with Steph, as Barkley is getting really upset over there. I don't know why. I'll see you guys later.
Everyone.
I'm back, baby.
It's Jake Ciely.
I'm great. Everybody else sucks. Oh, no. It's every nightmare I've ever had.
Excuse me?
It's time to check the link.
Pretty crazy, huh? But it doesn't matter because none of this has anything to do with the show.
You know what? You just made the list.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
It's all in football.
Sure, we talk about it all the time. Really? No.